Hey everybody, I'm Hamscrumza, and today I'll be showing you another infamous build, the Persian Town Center drop. This build has been around for ages and has been effectively used in pro play several times, especially by the Finnish player Rubenstock, who has employed this strategy in many team game tournaments. Today I'll be showing you how to do it on your own. Hope you enjoy. As far as infamous builds go, I would say the Persian Town Center drop, or the Persian Douche as it's more colloquially known, is the original infamous build. It has been a strategy for a long time where a weaker player can essentially remove a much stronger player from a game and turn a 3v3 into a 2v2 or a 4v4 into a 3v3. The idea here is to use the Persian Civ bonus that gives Town Centers 2 times the HP of any other Civ in the entire game. While this seems like an okay bonus at first, it is incredibly effective in this particular use. Take for example a Persian TC matched up against a standard TC. When both town centers are garrisoned with 10 villagers for maximum damage, the town centers will do around 50 damage per volley against one another. This ends up being around 1200 damage per each in-game minute, which is exactly half the HP of a standard town center. So you might be saying, so what? I can just out-repair the damage and continue on my way. After all, it only takes half the resources to repair a building than it does to make a completely new one. Well, you would be correct in any other case except for town centers. Instead of half, town centers require double the amount of resources necessary to repair, making it very costly to fight a TC battle with a Persian opponent. With that being said, I feel like I've talked enough about the strategy, so the only thing left to do is show you how. I hope you enjoy. Alright, so let's get started. And we're going to build our 2 houses right off the bat. We're going to do some sheep scouting, send one of our sheep underneath the town center, and we are off to a solid start. So, what we're going to aim to do here is try and reach our opponent before they reach feudal. We're going to try to beat any type of walls that they might put up to try and prevent us from getting there. And we're also going to, try and get scouting information on them as best as we possibly can, just to see, what resources they have forward, what can we take away from them, and, what is going to really kind of kill our opponent if we, actually do go for this Persian Town Center drop. So I think one of the most effective things you can do actually, and this is a little bit surprising since it might seem like the least valuable resource, but if you can actually go and Town Center drop on their berries, it provides a really, really good position for you, since you can continue to gather food and produce villagers, while your opponent is kind of in a weird spot where they have to, rebuild their town center and build farms and, rebuild the mill, maybe mill their deer. They're just put in a really bad spot if you actually get their berries. So we're going to take our 8 through 11 population and throw them onto the woodlines, and we can see myself doing that here. And see, we don't really need to scout our base too much. We've done a nice small circle, and now we can actually go and explore our opponent. Now, if you're, being a really terrible person, you can probably go and lame your opponent here, but I think I actually do the exact opposite, if I remember correctly in this replay. Yep, so I find this person's sheep, and I actually send it over to him. Now, this is also a little bit of a mind game, since, he may soften up his play towards me since I'm being so kind, but it is all but a ruse, and I will be going for a very terrible strategy against him. And honestly, after, he does thank me here, it makes me feel just a little bit bad about this. But we're going to send our 12th villager over to Lord the Boar, and the 13th villager, when it comes out, we're going to actually send over to build a house and then a mill. Now, we're not going to send many villagers over to berries at all, but instead we're actually going to send most of them onto Boar, since we want to be able to consume both boars, or for the most part both boars, before we actually leave to go and town center drop our opponent. Now, one of the things that I actually want to show you here today as well is a couple variations and a couple continuations of how you can actually follow up on this build. So, this build in and of itself leads to a really messy, feudal, or really messy Dark Age, really messy feudal age, and it's kind of up to you to adapt to your, just whatever the game actually calls for. But it's really going to be in your hands as to how you play it. I just want to kind of show you guys some continuations that you can play off of this. Since there were a few comments about the Nobu rush, and people felt like they were a little bit pigeonholed into the strategy after they tried it. But that being said, we've lured our second boar here. We've added a few villagers onto our boar and onto food in general. And now that we have around 18 population, we're going to send 10 of our boar villagers and we're going to put them forward. So we're starting the march, and what we want to do, and kind of our objective, is to hit 20 villagers, research Loom, and then delete our town center and build it right in our opponent's face. Now, you can... Oh, and we're also going to want to balance one of our food villagers over to wood so that we have 5 on wood. Now, one of the things that you can do, actually, is when you're going forward, if you do reach a point where you want to go a little bit earlier, or if you don't have the 20th villager by the time you reach there, it's not really a problem. The biggest thing is that you have a Loom before you actually start building a town center, because the chances of this getting pretty dicey quickly is quite high. So here I see that the berries are forward, I see the town center is right there, and quite literally there's nothing he can do at this point. And the build actually gets a little bit boring, because we're just going to build a town center and we're just going to start firing arrows. Now, one of the things you can do, and you can see he has his sheep, if he keeps them around or something, then you can actually just fire on those and kill those using your town center. So a lot of little evil tactics you can use when you're trying this strategy out. And this is literally all the strategy is. Now that we have our new town center up, we're just going to keep producing villagers. We're going to send them over to berries. We can send them to harass our opponent, and really provide, or really, ruin his day with, some villager rushing. But there's just a lot of things you can kind of follow this up on. You can continue to, harvest his berries and, go for some type of feudal age play. But generally your opponent will be in feudal age, and you kind of don't want to match that for a while. You just want to kind of smother his economy and make sure he can't get back into the game. And really what this is going to do, I would say, against top level players, this isn't going to completely end their game, but what it will do is put them behind significantly, to the point where they're not really a major factor in the game until much later on, and at which case you should be able to recover yourself to provide some value to your team. So we have our 10 villagers in town center. We're just destroying the enemy town center, and that's, like I said, that's about it. So this is the first variation that you can play, and this is the variation I decided to play this game. I didn't really want to pursue him since he's still in Dark Age, so I ended up just destroying his town center. He goes and he rebuilds it somewhere else, and I'm actually perfectly content with rebuilding my base inside of his. Now, if we're going to continue on to the second type of variation that we can continue off of, we're actually going to be going on something called an endless douche, right? So what that kind of means is we're going to be, the second that we destroy the enemy town center, we're actually just going to want to delete our town center that we built forward and remake the town center to wherever our opponent is. So as you can see here, the opponent seems to be trying to relocate after I destroyed his original town center to, secure some stone, but we're not going to let that happen. We're actually going to delete our town center here, and we're going to go and pursue our friends. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time here just destroying this mill, apparently, and free up some space for my villagers to, gather some resources themselves. Now we're going to build it right in his face again. So this is kind of what you can do. You can just keep building your villagers, keep mounting the pressure like this, and really, really ruin your opponent's day. With that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this build. If you have any suggestions or improvements, please let me know and I'll try to work it out for the future. Next video in the series is going to be the Huang Rush, so if you want to be kept up to date on the series, check out the Discord in the description below, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.